And this is just going to be a really short little teaser on how to edit with the Luma Fusion program and with the Insta360 1X software. So it'll be a really short video. Hang on tight. Okay, it says the GoPro's recording, so let's see if I can. Yeah, it looks like we're all in frame here. So what I've got is the Insta360 1X with the invisible selfie stick, and this is something that I made on my lathe so that I can screw this into the bottom of the invisible selfie stick. It solves two problems. One of the problems with this is it has a tendency, if you put it on the little tripod that comes with the what do they call that, the bullet, magic bullet, whatever the bullet thing is, it has a tendency to tip over if the wind's blowing. Well, you shove this down into the ground and it goes away. And you have to edit the tripod out if you don't want it in there. There's nothing to edit out because it can't see it. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to run the car around here a couple of times, nothing fancy, but somebody was interested in how you edit how you use the software for the Insta360. So that's really what this is about. So I'm just going to turn this camera on and get it into camera mode. I mean video mode, I'm sorry. And I'm just going to turn it on and then stick it in the ground. Okay, it's recording. Just stick it in the ground. Turn on radio. Turn on the car. And this is the Gizmo Vine Pouncer. So if anybody was interested in what the little car is. So all I'm really going to do is just drive this around the camera a few times. And it's going to be a really short drive video. But you can see the camera's stationary and everything is done after the video is over. Whoops. And that's all I'm going to do for running. Oops. Well, I'm glad I did one last thing. That's all we're going to do for the runtime today, and the rest of this is going to be how to edit this stuff. Okay, I'm going to try to cobble this video together. Got a few people asking what I do and how I do it, so this is what I'm doing my audio on right now. It's a tascam DR07X, and with a little lavalier mic. I'll go into more detail on the mic at another time. Just picked it up. I'm pretty happy with it so far, and I don't know where I've got the sensitivity set right this minute. Get that in my pocket, and using a GoPro, if I can get it to focus, somewhere in here it'll focus. Oh, I got the focus locked. GoPro Hero 5 Black in an aluminum case. It's got a little IR filter. I don't have the polarization filter on there. That is a trigger stick. If you're not, oh, there should go. Turn the zoom down some. If you're not familiar with the trigger stick, normally has a little V on the top, and you can use it to steady your rifle. So that's the setup there. And then I'm using the Insta360 1X with the invisible selfie stick. And I'm going to try to cobble this together, and part of it's going to be on different cameras, so I have no clue how this is going to come out. All right, I'm going to record this with my iPhone, and obviously I can't use the tascam to record this while I'm grabbing stuff off of here. This, my passport, this is how I move my files. It'll accept a micro SD, or I use a micro SD adapter. So it'll do SD cards, it'll do flash drive, and you can hook a hard drive up to it. You can use it as a hard drive. It's an SSD, so it's pretty rugged. You can set it up to where when you put the micro SD card in here, it'll automatically back it up. This model has a 500 gigabytes hard drive. I don't use it that way. I just pull the media off unless I'm in the field and I need to use this as a backup for my regular stuff. So if I'm trying to save a bunch of different stuff, I'll just move it onto here and do something with it at another time. Right now, what we're going to do, we're going to get into the app for the Insta360. That's the primary thing that I'm wanting to do today. So you go onto the network and see if I have this turned on. I'm using a Bluetooth headset, so I hope that the audio is not too awful on this. It's an iPhone 7 Plus. Come on. There it is. Okay, this is the Insta360 app. Now those are videos. You've got an option for the other stuff also. Now we're just going to go to the car for right now, and I'm going to download this onto my device, and that's me turning it on. You can't see it, and you can't see the selfie stick, so I'm just going to go ahead and download this to the device, and just take a minute. You can see it's moving pretty fast. It's only a whatever length of video, minute and a half or whatever it was I did. While that's doing its thing, I'll throw this in there. That's the spike I made for the Insta360 camera. It's not quite as heavy as a dead bear, but if you're backpacking, it's way too heavy. That's actually a solid 3/8 stainless steel rod. So I'm actually going to remake this with tubular aluminum, and should be not even a fraction of how heavy that one is. Okay, so here's our footage on here, and what we're going to do is we're going to change this to a 16:9 first off. So now we've got our 16:9, and you can see we can move it around, the invisible selfie stick, and we're going to go over here to where the car is. It's somewhere. Where is the car? There's the car. So as we start the car off, the way you would edit the video, you center the thing on the car. So you just touch it, and it makes that a pivot point. And oh, I'm just not even prepared yet. Okay, we'll move it over. So this is what you would see if we didn't do anything. The camera's basically right here, and you're just going to see the car going away and coming back by, going away, coming back by. So as we edit this, let's see where I actually throw it onto the ground. Okay, that's a good place to start. So we'll make that a pivot point, move over a couple of frames, and when the car starts to move, it moves really fast when it's this close, so it doesn't take very many frames. Okay, we're going to take the first frame where it actually moves, and we'll make that a pivot point. Come over a couple of frames, and we'll make that a pivot point. And you just keep doing this. And when the car's moving really quick, really close to the camera, it doesn't take very many frames to get it completely out of frame again. So as you can see, this is the most, it's not difficult, but it's, I would call it tedious. Got to move out of the circle there. I'm not going to make you watch this, but I'm going to do a bunch more of this, and then I'll show you what the video looks like. Oh, I'm going to show you what I've got. First off, all of these down here on the bottom, these are keyframes. Man, I'm grabbing in the wrong spot. All of these are keyframes, and I counted this up. I got a bucket load, actually 2.5 bucket loads of keyframes, and if you don't know what a bucket load of keyframes is, it just means a bunch. If you're from the South, it means a bunch. So with these keyframes in here, you saw the video to start with. It didn't move. It's just the car would come in and out of frame. So now this is what we're going to do. Let me get on past this. Over to the run video. So now you'll see the camera is tracking it. Now the camera's physically not moving. All of these keyframes are making the camera track the car. Now, I'm going to go closer to the end of this video, and I'll show you. You've seen the tiny planet stuff. That's all where the car's actually going, and the video is just not keeping up with it. So let me get about right here. And if you want to do the tiny planet thing, this is how you do it. And when the car goes around the camera, let me back it up a little further. I didn't look to what point that was. There. So the car is actually going in a circle around the camera right now. She got the little tiny planet thing going. I think that's kind of cool. It can get old fast, I guess. And now I'll show you real quick. Let me bring the car in here. Okay, if I can get past all of my keyframes, there's a dead spot. Where's the car? Okay, so if I hold this, you see I've got a pivot point smart track. Now smart track won't work for the car because the car's moving too fast, but for me, if I put the smart track on my chest, it would kind of track right there. Put it on my face, it would kind of track right there. The viewfinder thing, that's a whole nother thing. If anybody's interested in that, we'll do that in another video. But if I hit the viewfinder thing, I got to actually pick the iPad up and manipulate it around. There's other ways to do it on a PC. I haven't explored yet because I haven't put this on a PC. But on the iPad, you physically pick it up, or the iPhone, you physically pick it up and move it around. This software works just as good on my iPhone as it does on the iPad. However, what I will say is that I've got a lot more real estate to work with. It's a lot easier to see the stuff. So we're going to call it good on this, and I'm going to import this into LumaFusion. I'll save this to my camera roll, and then I'll put it in LumaFusion. I guess I should probably include that also. So let's see if I can get everything in frame here. That's good enough. So what you're going to do here is you're going to save this, and I'm going to save it to my album, and then it gives me a chance to save it as a fixed frame or as a 360 video. I don't want it as a 360 in this instance, so I'm going to save it to my camera roll as a fixed frame. That'll render that to my camera roll. I won't make you endure that, but as you can see, it's already at 15% or so. So let me get LumaFusion going here, get my cards moved over to the passport, and we'll go from there. I've got to take the camera out of here to get to the SD card. Some people say they have a big problem getting the camera out of this particular enclosure. But what I find is it needs to come really, really straight out because it's got a really tight tolerance. This little screw wedges on this piece of plastic here to hold it in place. But I've got a whole stack of lenses. I've got colored lenses, circular polarized lenses and stuff that can go on here if you want some kind of special effect. That works out really well. So all I'm going to do at this point, pop the micro SD card out of here. I need to go in here, go over to my passport. I'm going to use the 2.4 gig. It seems to be more stable, at least when I'm upstairs, and I don't know if something up there is interfering with it on 5 gig, but we're going to do it this way for today. So what I'll do is I'll start a new project in LumaFusion now that we're on that. Go to LumaFusion, and I prefer using it in this orientation. It's just a personal preference, and you can change where all the different screens are. This is my new outro screen that I'm working on right there. So another thing for another day. It'll be at the end of this video if it works. So we go down here, start a new project, and we'll call this one, I don't know, LumaFusion. I don't know. Not LumaFusion, Insta360. So hit the little plus, and that's going to start a whole new project. Then we come over here. It's on Western Digital. I'm going to go to my photos and open videos, and we're going to do this video. Now I can preview it, I can trim it, I'd prefer to drag it over here, then it's just done. And if I want to edit out all of this stuff in the front, I can edit that out. I'm going to leave it in for this particular video just because. So that's this video. Okay. Now the one that I just put in here, that is from the GoPro. Digital drive, Western Digital. This is the micro SD card out of the GoPro. So, okay, there it is. So now what we're going to do is drag this over on to the top of this one. Now you see it's got these little dashes in there. That means that it hasn't downloaded yet. That's the footage that I got on there, but it's not downloaded yet. So let that download. Once it's downloaded, it'll turn solid blue just like the other line is, and it won't make you watch through that. So you get a big yellow line right there because it was turned on a lot longer than the other camera was. So get that downloaded, and I'll show you what. Completely blue. All the little squiggles are gone. And speaking of squiggles, if you see the little squiggles here, that's the audio in each one of these tracks. Started these cameras at 2 different times. I really probably should bring this one down to the bottom. Whichever one is physically on top is the one that you're going to see. So I think that's what I'm going to do, if it will allow me to. I might have made a bad choice here. See if I can drag that one up that way. Nope. I figured out what I was doing. These two files are linked together, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to unlink these two files. Now I'll be able to move the Insta360 clip up. I can move this one down to the main timeline, and I'll move this one back down to this timeline. So now, and the reason I did that, the main timeline doesn't seem to allow me to drag the top clip past it. In other words, earlier than it. Maybe it does, but I haven't been able to do it. See, even if I unlink the files, it'll let me pick it up and it'll let me move it over, but it zips it right back over there. But I can go this way with it, and since I know I started the GoPro first, I'll find where I'm saying the same thing in both pieces of video, and get those two lined up, and won't bore you with that. So you can zoom in and zoom out on these frames, and you see I'm playing the GoPro footage. This is the Insta160 footage, and when it gets to that one, the one that's on the top is the one that's going to play. So you'll see it'll change over. So it changed over to the Insta360 footage right there. If I wanted to go back to this other one, I can delete a piece, or I can clone this piece. I'll just show you what I'm talking about real quick. I'm going to clip this, and I'll make another clip right here, and I've got the one that's highlighted. Touch this one, and I'll clone it. So now I've got this clip, so it's on top since I cloned it up there. So it'll go from this camera, the GoPro, to the Insta160, and then when it gets right here, it'll switch back to the GoPro, and then it'll switch back to the Insta360. And I hope I said all that stuff right, because I'm thinking about 5 different things at once. I'm not going to use that. I don't want to do that. I just wanted to show you how to do it. I guess since I showed you how to do it and I'm not going to use it, I'll show you how to undo it. So you got the back arrow here. You just hit the back arrow. The clone's gone. Now I'm going to take that cut out, then it'll take that cut out. So now I'm back to the original thing. And if you see these lines right here, that's the audio from each camera. So that's what you're trying to get lined up. And I'm a millisecond or so off, but the frames weren't firing at exactly the same time. There is a way to normalize this, but I don't need to for this. I mean, I'm not going to be using the audio tracks from either one of these cameras. I'm just using this to synchronize so that I'm doing the things that I'm talking about in both cameras. And then I'm going to now bring the audio from the tascam, and it's going to be a green line on the bottom. So we're going back over to the Western Digital Drive, and we're in 10.5 minutes. I had the audio on a long time before I started doing this stuff. So you can preview it up here. You can pre-trim it to some level. Same thing with the video. I'm just going to drag this down on the timeline. I seem to find it easier for me to edit down here than up here, just because I don't know the program. It's probably easier to edit up there. As soon as that turns to a solid green line, then you'll see the audio waveforms in there, and I'll find where the overlap is, and you see how much longer I forgot to turn this off on my walk home. So I gotta, whatever is on there is on there. So this one will turn green. This will turn solid green without the little bars in it, and I'll find where it matches up to the video. Now I've got everything pretty well lined up. Now I'll show you. I'll move this over a couple of frames. There's one, there's two, maybe 3 frames, and you'll hear the difference in the, it'll sound like an echo. Okay, it says GoPro's. Okay, so we're not in the right spot. So we'll move it. I don't know if I moved it 2 or 3, and we'll see what that sounds like. Okay, it says the GoPro's recording. So we're a couple of milliseconds off, and there is a way to normalize all of the audio, puts it all on the same frame. But again, for this particular project, it's not something we need to do. But you can see here's my video, and this was the walk home, and I'll end up editing that out. So what this is going to do, I'm going to go ahead and finish this stuff up. I'm going to render this, and I'm going to play this clip first, and then the rendered video will be at the end, so you can see the outcome of all of this stuff right here. And it'll just be the car running in circles, and I'll throw some music underneath this. May show you how the music goes in there, and you can do audio ducking and stuff where it'll make more sense in a minute. Throw some music on here. I'm running iOS 13 now, so I actually can read directly from the flash drive. I'm in the Files app. This is a bunch of music I downloaded off of YouTube, but as you see, it tells me the physical size of the file, but it doesn't tell me what the duration of any of these are. So my preferred way of doing this, since this is doesn't function the way I need it to, because if I'm going to add music to the to a video, I kind of need to know how long the music clip is. So again, I'm going to fall back on Western Digital Drive and just put the flash drive in here. Then I can open Luma Fusion. Sorry I'm having to fumble with this so much. I normally have this on, it's got a stand on it. I normally have it on its stand. So we're going to add some music in here now. So I'll go to Western Digital, flash drive, and go to the music folder. And I've got all my music on here. And let's see if we can zoom in on this just a bit. If it'll focus. So it's got times for all the music.
You got 518, 320 or 330, 323. So it makes it a lot more convenient when you can actually see the time on this. And then to add music to it, I won't bore you. This video is already way too long. So all you need to do, well, just double tap it there. Go back to the beginning and you just grab a song. And since it's on the drive, it's going to take it a bit. It's yellow here with the green downloaded now. So when you play this, if I just play it as is, these two soundtracks are going to compete with each other. The music will be way too loud. You can't hear me talking at all. So you tap on this. Whoops. Triple tap that. Back out of that. Tap on that. Or double tap on that. Go to the audio. Go to configuration. We're going to change that to master. Then we're going to back out of it. We're going to go to this one, and it's probably already set to auto. Yeah, it's set to auto. So now the master it knows which one I actually want to play the loudest. So I didn't change any volume settings or anything, but now you should be able to hear me talk and the music will just be in the background. You can control that several ways. You can change the volume of the background music here, or you can go into the settings in this and you can actually change the ducking rate, and the ducking rate is just, I don't know, that I didn't name it, that's just their name for it, and I guess it ducks this music down. I don't know, makes sense, don't know if it's right.
Okay, I'm going to try to cobble this video together that people asking what I...
So this is, in my estimation, is still too loud. So you can go in here and you can cut the volume down. We'll cut it down by, say, 10 dB. You got the configuration file. Then you've got different audio filters, which I don't need any of those on here. Now, like I say, I could have turned it down over here and accomplished the same thing, but sometimes different tracks that you bring over are going to have different volume levels, and so it helps to kind of contour it so that everything is a consistent level all the way through. So we'll play a few more feet of it.
Do it how I do it. So this is what I'm doing.
We'll go down just a tad more. We'll go down, say 23 dB, and see what that sounds like.
Audio on right now, it's tascam
so
DR07X.
the music's pretty faint,
and
but it's still in there, so you can customize it that way. And I don't want, this clip's way too long already, so I'm going to leave it at this. I'll throw some more music in there and get this thing rendered out. If anybody has any questions, any suggestions, any of this stuff that didn't make any sense to you, just put something in the comments. I'm actually going to include the run video in a completely separate video on my other channel, and I'll put a link to it in the description. This just turned out way longer than I anticipated, so if this has any interest for you, give it a like, a thumbs up, subscribe. Give me some suggestions, questions, whatever, and I appreciate it all. Thanks, everybody, for watching.